I am Bill Pearson, Director of Boston Healthcare Fellowship. Welcome to our videocast. This is a recording of our April BHF meeting where we consider how Psalm 107 speaks to our COVID-19 moment. Psalm 107, it begins like this: "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His steadfast love endures forever." And it's kind of a crazy declaration given our current moment. Things don't always feel good, and we don't always want to give thanks for the way things are. And it may not even feel like the steadfast love endures forever. So who says that kind of thing? Well, who says that kind of thing, if you're following with me in the Bible, is the redeemed. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, whom he has redeemed from trouble and gathered in from the lands, from east and west and north and south. So the redeemed of the Lord can say that. And the redeemed of the Lord are those who declare those insane kind of statements, like he is good, even in the midst of what feels like being in exile. So there's a declaration, and then there's an invitation to redemption. And in the psalm, there are four different sets. We see that he addresses wanderers, he addresses rebels and fools, and the self-sufficient. The wanderers are those who are fainting from hunger and thirst. The rebels are those who are spurning God's counsel and they're living in darkness. The fools are those who have gone their own way and suffered affliction. And the self-sufficient are those who just don't need God. And so it shows them as out in a boat and they're overwhelmed by nature. And then all of a sudden they realize they need God. And maybe that's where we are as a human race. But then something happens. They cry out to the Lord in their trouble in verses 6, 13, 19, and 28. And he leads them, he releases them from their darkness, he heals them, and he calms the storm. So let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love. So that's how we can thank God for his steadfast love, is is not because everything is smooth sailing or because things are easy, but because when we are in trouble, when we cry out to the Lord, he meets us in those places. And so the redeemed of the Lord can say so, to say that he's good. And then the psalm ends with a recalibration. It says, he turns rivers into a desert, springs of water into the thirsty ground, a fruitful land into a salty waste because of the evil of his inhabitants. But then he also turns the desert into pools of water, a parched land into springs of water. And there he causes the hungry to dwell, so they may establish an inhabited city and sow fields. And he blesses them and multiplies them greatly. You see this fruitful land that becomes desolation, and you also see desolate places that become fruitful. And then the passage goes on to talks about how God brings the high and brings them low, and he takes those who are low and he makes them high. And the steadfast love of the Lord is represented in this kind of upside down, inside out kingdom. So as I thought about our time together tonight and how we could talk and we could pray, it occurred to me that maybe we could think about those things together. We could think about the things that were fruitful in your life before COVID-19 that now feel desolate. But then also maybe there are things that were desolate in our life before COVID-19 that now could become fruitful. I think about how busy we all were, how we didn't have time for scripture, how we didn't have time for one another. Or I'm thinking about all the lonely people in nursing homes who are probably getting more phone calls now than they used to before this whole thing happened. That's what I'm going to invite us to do. And so I'm going to put us in groups of 3 or 4, take 3 or 4 minutes and introduce yourselves, what your name is, what you do, and then where you are physically right now. And then take 10 minutes or so and we'll share about the things that were fruitful in your life before COVID-19. And then another 10 minutes and talk about the things that felt desolate before that may now become fruitful. And then finish your time praying for each other. Thank you for joining us on Friday night. Please check out our new YouTube channel and fill out our COVID-19 response form. We will meet again virtually in May, and God willing, we'll be together again in June. Until then, God be with you.